I reminisce.
Here we go.
Planet Alcatraz is a 2006 RPG in which a Soviet boomer explains what other races are really like and what a woman's role in society is. Consider this to be a content warning. There is no millennial RPG more politically incendiary than Planet Alcatraz. This video is more or less safe. But when you see Flowey from Undertale show up in the corner of the screen like this, it means something fucked up is about to follow.
No, really.
The reason it's unknown to foreigners is because, well, the original is almost entirely written in untranslatable Russian prison jargon, and the English version is supposedly very heavily censored. You just know it's going to be an experience.
So just
when
prison slang?
the lead writer walking to the camera to explain himself. Welcome to the video game Planet
He looks
Alcatraz.
very unsettling.
The game is masterfully created based on a book I wrote. The book is
Like-
about the difficult fate of the Special Operations Brigade Deadhead,
He just comes
best
to the camera.
commandos in the galaxy. The game is
He's
also
trying not to
about
show
these
his
wonderful
teeth.
people.
You know.
The man in front of you is Dmitry Goblin Puchkov. He is responsible for this game and for about half of the Russian online culture. Born in 1961 in Kirovograd, mother worked in a school for the disabled. Father was a Soviet instructor of the North Korean army. Dmitry was drafted in the military in 1980, drove a truck, became a sergeant. During the following turbulent period, he found employment as a taxi driver, blacksmith, locksmith, plumber, electrician, dog handler, librarian,
Damn.
assistant driller, engineer hydrogeologist, and a Xerox machine salesman. In 1992,
Jack
he
of
became
all
a
trades.
cop. Claims he read The Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn and wanted to see if it was all true. Puchkov changed a number of police-related professions. First, he worked with police dogs, then in a prison, and then as a criminal investigator. A journalist wrote an
Sheesh,
article
this
critical
dude
of cops.
got more jobs than a
Goblins
Jamaican.
in police coats. Puchkov took this as his online handle. When I said he invented half of the Russian online culture, that was barely an exaggeration. Puchkov ran and still runs one of the first blogs in the Russian internet. He translated foreign movies, wrote for early gaming magazines and websites. His specialization were boomer shooters, or as they were known back
Boomer
then,
shooters?
shooters. Quake was the favorite game.
I didn't know
He
they
wrote a
call
lot
old
about
shooters
multiplayer
boomer
tactics,
shooters.
Early esports, about Team Fortress. Not this Team Fortress, not this Team Fortress, this one, the original. Puchkov authored several books, became a YouTube pioneer, and here is Goblin a month
Damn,
ago
this
in a
dude's
swastika
been on
event.
for
That's
years.
the story so far. Given the trajectory,
You
we
just
could
go from
see
one thing to the
President
next.
Goblin at some point. So it makes sense for us to examine the art he makes.
He's like, I don't
Planet
like that. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. I don't like that.
role-playing
Move on to the
game.
next
As you
thing. I don't
complete
like
the
that. Move
mission,
on to the
you
next
get to
thing.
visit exotic
Until he finally
places,
find a
meet
thing he
colorful
likes.
characters and shoot them if you so wish. The game's story is non-linear. The consequences of words
I feel
and
like
actions
he's like
might
David
surprise
Cage's
you. Be
distant
careful.
cousin.
Understand that the game's events take place in a
He's
very
very
peculiar
David
place,
Cagey
a
to me.
prison planet populated with scum, rapists, murderers, cannibals, and racists. This garbage doesn't respond well to humane treatment. You'll have to be uncompromising and tough. We are a member of the Sabotage and
Have to be a
Reconnaissance
hard
Group,
man.
which means a vampire or a ghoul in Russian.
Hard
Seaman
man
Silence
make
is a
good
prison
time.
planet somewhere on the periphery of our vast star empire. The planet's named after a really existing federal prison in Moscow. The Imperial Intelligence received word that the inmates are secretly assembling a starship. Our task is to infiltrate the planet undercover, posing as prisoners, find the location of the illegal starship, and destroy it. This is what hyperspace travel looks like. The Empire is incredibly technologically advanced. The protagonist of the game is a soldier called Kaban. As a man in the service, he doesn't just fuck around doing whatever. He executes the order given to him. Kaban, the Space Marine,
Is this an
an
intro
internationalist.
to the actual
He
game?
hates moral freaks of any shade of skin color. The name means boar in Russian. We can tweak the appearance sliders here, but no matter what we do, Kaban will be distinctly Kaban.
He's just angry Russian, or slightly less angry Russian.
It's kind of like the energy weapons in Fallout 1 and 2. It's meaningless to take it early, but the Imperial weapons are powerful late-game items. I select Thievery and Melee as Kaban's preferred skills, as is recommended by any guide. Nobody will leave unsatisfied, irrespective of race and nationality. Kill them all.
Nobody will leave unsatisfied. We're all racist here.
Kaban wakes up after a crash.
Everyone is racist, equally racist to everybody else.
Gone. Two locals approach us. Sweet white man, come alive. Me love a live white man better than dead. What be your name, princess? Planet Alcatraz plays kind of like an Infinity Engine game, although for the first half of the experience, Kaban will be adventuring solo. We won't reassemble our Space Marine
Is it the real dialogue?
I make Kaban gather potatoes. It's important to do this since the other notable difference between this and an Infinity Engine game is the potato-based combat system. In battle, the single most
I thought those were rocks.
Is the number of healing consumables we have in our inventory, carrots and potatoes. The planet Alcatraz word for a black person is a Negro. It's not supposed to be derogatory. This used to be a common way of referring to people of African heritage in the post-Soviet space. Make a mental
Well, I mean,
note
I guess
that
they
people who
used it in
made this
America,
game
so
almost
they're like, oh, that's
certainly
what they
never
call
met
them.
many black people, or possibly not even a single black person in their entire life. There simply weren't many individuals
Paul
of
Robeson.
African descent in the USSR. Later, we'll meet a character who explains that there are two distinct
I know he was
groups of black
blacklisted
people on
in
the
America
planet. The
because
first group are the
say he was a
sophisticated
communist during the
blacks who live near
McCarthyism.
the Aryan town. They seem to have been modeled based on Russian understanding
From
of what
McCarthy
the
era.
African American culture is like. And the second group are essentially just European colonial stereotypes, like the old ones from the Age of Sail. Members of this community are portrayed as stupid, they believe in magic spells, and are too dumb to speak the human language properly. Another major ethnic group are the Asians, or the Chinamen, like the game
he
calls
was
them.
right.
They
There's
dress in
racism
Japanese
all over the
clothing,
place.
use weapons from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and say
And
L
commit
instead of
seppuku?
R. And then, much later, we'll meet the Aryans, who dress in Wehrmacht uniforms and occasionally use German words in dialogue.
Well, let me guess what they supposed to
Aryans
be.
are hated by everybody, by the Asians, blacks, and even other whites.
That makes sense.
A white man from a flying box. My spear will beat your spear. When the game disrespects someone, it makes fun of the way they talk. As we are about to battle the inhabitants of the little tutorial
So they
camp,
don't
the two
speak
survivors
English
from
well.
the pod are about to make their escape. It's a little confusing, but these two are not our squad members, just some random inmates that arrived with us. Stop! I came here for you, victims of justice. My name is Hamster, and from now on you are my daughters. Move it, mutants. March! It's important
What?
to avoid getting surrounded, because even weak enemies can stunlock you. Doing battle is the only way of achieving victory in battle, says Kaban the philosopher. The inventory
Wow,
management
so
mechanics are
profound.
fairly sophisticated, more so than combat. You can play dress up, there are several layers of clothing, kind of like in Morrowind. Most of the early game guns are one-shot improvised firearms, like the pipe weapons from Fallout 4, except these are discarded after use. Back when they were making this game, there was this popular movie about a
kinda
veteran
sucks.
of the war in Chechnya going to New York to take revenge on an American businessman. The movie had a scene with an improvised firearm that looked very similar to the ones featured in the game. The final thing to do in the tutorial is to kill the gorilla monster. Thanks to all the carrots we collected, this is trivial.
Браслеты ослабь, у меня руки затекли.
Kaban managed to surprise the mysterious man from earlier, but then he himself gets surprised.
Wait, I seen someone play
Zona
this.
means industrial zone. It's a walled prison where inmates work until they die. A gulag. I like this concept art.
I think
a
I
lot.
seen
The ghouls in
Funhouse
charge
play
collect
this
the
like
disoriented
years
prisoners,
ago.
drop for morbid, and work them to death, making something.
Это чё,
So, we only got 3 of them? From a full drop? The chest fell hard. Many got crushed. There was a squabble. We got whoever we could.
Ответить, что у него сифилис.
No reason to squabble over this one. Don't you see he has a stage 3 syphilis? The zone is
How do
huge,
you know
and
he
this
has
is just one
stage 3
area out of
syphilis just
several.
by looking
Feels
at
a
him?
little over-designed. This is not the world map. This is the Promzona map. It's basically a city. Our goal is to escape. In this dialogue, we can choose to either be polite or rude to the guard, and this is the single most important choice in the Promzona. If we talk shit, they put us in the isolation, where we meet this guy, who tells us about his escape plan. If we follow this branch, we eventually become a local electrician, I think. But if we are polite to the guards, who are very clearly a privileged caste in the Gulag, we can become one of them. So, be rude, become an electrician. Be polite, become a guard. You can't claim the choices here don't have consequences, except the sad consequences are a little random and arbitrary. Hey Goover, your
Beating
rival is extra confrontational, not accustomed to discipline. We thought he was your kind of patient. Let's appreciate just how good the combat theme is. It's energetic
he's
and,
in here
I don't
killing
know, ironic,
rats.
fits the tone of the game well. Unfortunately,
Shouldn't he be
Planet
eating those?
Alcatraz has very few music tracks, but a lot of combat. We'll be hearing this track a lot. The main issue I have with this place is that being a gulag, it's very bland visually. But the game suddenly became a lot more fun once I learned that you get experience for stealing items. It's very easy to steal crap from other inmates, and you get XP per item based on its value. I got 2 levels in 5 minutes, an actual functioning industrial facility. And this is what they make here.
Is that a
in the
mutant
Gulag.
rat?
Guns.
Is that a horse's
We're asked to
head?
test fire some of the designs and then give our opinion on them. Kaban is a space marine.
No,
so
okay,
he's
then maybe that's a
knowledgeable in this kind
dog
of
or
stuff.
something.
Selling all the
But that
garbage
is a
and
mutant
stone,
rat.
becoming a Promzona
Why are there
oligarch.
mutant
The
rats?
assets in the mines feel like they were borrowed from another game, which they might have been. Planet Alcatraz was made on the engine of Dawn of Magic, a fantasy RPG that looks like this.
The box
and
art
here
is
is
crazy.
A screenshot of a very early prototype with sprite graphics. I like this style. This is the engine Knyaz was made on, another little-known fantasy RPG.
Knyaz.
Promzona is multi-ethnic. The leader of one of the black factions is called Snowball, which is a Stanley Kubrick reference. Dmitry Puchkov didn't become famous for writing Quake articles. He became famous for translating foreign movies. Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket had one of them Goblin translations. The game references the movie several times.
Хари Кришна, Хари Рама,
Okay,
Хари Смеха Панорама.
Smiecho Panorama is a Russian stand-up TV show from the 90s. Dad humor.
Is he
What
Quentin
does it have to do
Tarantino
the
with all
game?
these
Nothing.
references to
It
old
rhymes
shit
with
that you grew
Rama,
up
which
with?
is a Hindu god Kaban invokes to make fun of the Gulag cultists. You see why this game is untranslatable. A gym. They have a bench, another bench, and this thing for squats that can double as a bench. This is the most bro gym ever, and I completely approve.
Хоп, хей, ла-ла-ла-я, где вопрос и где ответ?
Kaban dancing and singing is the effect of alcohol or drugs. A gulag discotheque. Eventually, Gulag,
Well,
the
this
boss,
supposed to be
promotes
Russia,
us.
that makes
He
sense.
complains that the inmates are fleeing from Zona on a train. Interesting. The game's UI has a dedicated button for extorting money. Kaban yells a bunch of obscenities, and the victim either surrenders their possessions or tells him to go fuck himself. I think it depends on the authority stat or whatever it's called. Unfortunately, Kaban's comfy life in the Gulag is about to come to an end. It's all because of a misunderstanding.
I would tell him
The
to go
driver
fuck
is
himself.
chained to the train. Says if we fight off the black shirts, we can escape together. I didn't
That a
even
black
say
dude?
yes.
She just extra ashy.
Hey, you scabic mite! Who give you permission to come near the train? We are under orders to kill for this kind of shit. Brothers, we have another Aryan spy. Get him!
Oh, you
The
gotta
guards
kill him.
don't stand a chance because we're so over-leveled thanks to all that pickpocket XP. Finally, we're somewhere else. The Promzona episode isn't terrible, but it really started to drag.
Man,
by
that
the
brother's.
end.
What the? Oh, shit.
Kaban, this is not a good time.
Where'd these
sounds.
mutant
That's
rats
a
come
human
from?
pretending to be a giant mutant rat that's dying. Speaking of things pretending to be something they're not, the game was masterfully created based on the book I wrote. I don't want to give you a false impression that I am a reader of books, a booker, is that the term? Thanks to your Patreon donations,
booker.
I can now do this. You know what this reminds me of? Same energy. This book
Was
is
that
fucking
Jordan
weird.
Peterson?
It begins with a short science fiction story about Kaban the Space Marine, but then it goes, the soldiers were taught warfighting skills via training simulations. The one the army used was called
Do they not have a
Quake.
word for
Most people thought it was
deathmatch
a
in
video
Russia?
game, but the soldiers knew what's up. The reason it was considered to be a video game is because the simulation was based on the real events. And then, I shit you not, the book transitions from a science
Quake.
fiction novel to a player guide on Quake multiplayer. This is what 60 or 70% of it
Or
is.
Team Fortress.
Strategy, terminology, console commands, Team Fortress classes, tactics for individual maps. This section contains detailed instructions on how to record
those
and play
usernames,
match
or-
recordings or demos, how they were called. Puchkov even name drops a bunch of famous players from his era, most notably Thrash, who was the guy who won Carmack's Ferrari in a Quake game against Entropy in 1997. Well, this is certainly not what I expected. Back to planet Alcatraz.
Yeah,
Welcome to Severny.
I did watch
The name means northern
Funhouse
town,
play
the
this
biggest settlement in
years
the game,
ago.
possibly the biggest on the planet.
I think it might have been right after they
Smells
they
like
left
the insides of a
Machinima.
dead man's asshole. I can feel the stench.
Or maybe
with
they
my
were at
ears.
Machinima,
The
I'm not
homeless
sure.
person informs us that the Gulag escapees are usually sent back to the Promzona. We should change clothes.
God, that was a long time ago.
Stop
I'm
it.
getting
The
old.
poorest district of Severny. Looks like a giant trash heap, but I do like that the people
Yeah, no, it looks
here are
like
no longer
shit.
dressed in blue robes. The item description says, clothing for homosexuals and prostitutes. A marine would be embarrassed to wear this. Our dudes aren't actually called marines. The game uses the Russian word for paratrooper, so we're like interstellar paratroopers. In the Soviet and Russian military culture, paratroopers occupy the same space as marines do in the United States. More badass than the army, less badass than special forces. So I'm gonna just call them marines for simplicity's sake. We are still wearing some of the clothing from the Promzona, so the gangsters recognize us. I could have reloaded, but effort, opening locks and pickpocketing
I don't
is more
want to.
XP than quests and murder. The homeless person has 3 guns in his inventory. He
Is that
must
a
be
woman?
from Space America. A Russian game, so a lot of alcohol and vodka-related humor. Translation not required. Stealing from this guy gave me more XP
Translation
than
not
clearing a map full of monsters. Convicts would randomly engage in these little social fights with one another.
That's not how white men
We're
fight.
looking for the hijacker of the Promzona train. Do you know anything about this? We should move on. A dozen stalls in the market
That's a real
district,
thing
and
an
there is a
actual
dedicated
human being
vendor
said.
selling sexy clothing.
A famous human being too.
The priest puts us in contact with Blackie, an Imperial agent working on the planet undercover.
Why is
He's
he
our commanding officer.
Blackie?
Behave, soldier, or I'll bring in a pair of strong Negroes. They'll teach you to love the Empire. So what do you want of me? You can rub the floor, the toilet is clogged, you can give me a pedicure, or you can find and
Ugh.
wash all our socks. These guys really are
How about I not do any
the
of that
guards
shit?
are armed with Imperial blasters. That's endgame tax. You can't steal
Strong
them,
Negroes.
unfortunately. This is when the game opens up. Severny is like our Baldur's Gate, a hub for questing and trading. The quests open locations on the world map. The encounters don't appear to be random, however. Some of these locations are generic and honestly quite boring, but there are different biomes with different biome-appropriate creatures, like whatever this is, or this ostrich-looking thing.
Okay,
Reminds me
why
of
is with
something
all
I've
these
seen in the
mutant
Planet Alcatraz
monsters?
documentary.
Is some experimenting on them?
Initially, all our creatures had to
Or
be
is this in
bipedal,
some other world
so we
where
made
these
an
are-
ostrich,
these aren't
but it
mutants,
wasn't
these
a
is
common ostrich. It's a
evolution.
space ostrich. It has paws instead of wings, and it poisons you. A hellish creature from a nightmare. It ended up being the funniest monster in the game. It migrated to the 3D version. We came up with all sorts of creative legends about the relationship between the ostriches and the Negroes. Ostriches think that, well, they don't think anything, but the Negroes
Did they
think the
start
ostriches are undercover Chinamen who hunt Negroes out of hatred for Negroes, and they spit on them until they're comatose. Ostriches have a poisonous bite.
На самом деле страусы это
What?
выведенный арийцами
But actually, the ostriches are engineered by the Aryan faction to guard the future Negro concentration camps. At one point, we even had the idea of placing serial numbers on the ostriches, but we couldn't do it for technical reasons. Or maybe we can paint swastikas, we thought. But basically, it was very funny. Ostriches are cool. Blackie has an important mission for us. It's about time we taught the Chinamen a lesson. They killed a valuable agent
Ostriches
of ours.
are cool.
He brushes away an invisible tear. We are to invade the Yellow Quarter and brutalize Chief Ho from the Golden Rooster restaurant. By the way, Caban, says Blackie, do you know why beekeepers wear masks? No. Why? So that the bees won't find out what they look like. He gives us a mask. Whoever offended Blackie should die painfully.
Начинаем операцию Харьков.
Commencing Operation Hamster in the
They did the
henhouse.
thing
Follow
with the
me.
black lips. I
My
hate that. I
kung fu
hate.
is stronger than yours,
They
Yo.
did it.
The first
But it looked
challenging
like
battle in the game. Our
like
guys
minstrel
are very
show
awkward to control.
fucking
The UI
characters.
just doesn't feel as responsive as in
God, I hate when they do
games.
that shit.
The foes have a diverse arsenal
I
of
was like, you can't do
weapons, from knives to
lips,
guns to
just
throwing
a big
stars
lips.
with
Just
poison
don't do it.
applied.
Plus,
Oh
not every
yes,
black
the
person has big
sword.
lips.
This is the aesthetic I was going for with Caban. A sword, shorts, and an Asian hat to imitate a cope cage.
Что было, шеф, что было?
You should have seen it,
What the
Chief. We
fuck?
beat the Chinese hard, but with grace. We did an Old Man Ho. Worked on him myself.
Oh,
A
they
heel
supposed to
broke
be
off from my shoe.
Chinese?
In short, I think he's dead, but I'm not 100%.
I thought they were just
on this.
vaguely Asian.
Very good. Excellent news, soldier. The service thanks you.
Служу империи.
Serving the Empire. We got a nice new helmet. It looks good on you, Caban, says Blackie. Like you were born in it. When a bullet hits the head,
I
the
can't
brain
get
shouldn't
Blackie.
splash the individuals around you, sir, replies Caban.
Okay.
The White Quarter. I love the
Brain
music.
shouldn't-
The locals dress well. The roads are paved. You can target
course, the
individual
right-
body
White
parts,
Quarter is
just
the
like
best
in
quarter.
Fallout. Critical strike in the head means decapitation. Just
Shit.
look at us, the prestigious gentleman Caban. This is not canon, by the way. Caban hated men who dress well. He never considered them to be people, since they knew neither life nor the service, and were made out of material fundamentally different from what he was made of. Caban thought the material these wretched creatures were made of was dog poop. The writing in the game is better than in the book.
Because they dress
A
well?
plantation on a prison planet. It is with a heavy heart that I must announce that white people are at it again. Yet to meet a single woman character that wasn't a prostitute. Furious Fist.
A woman
Fighting
character that's not a
the African
prostitute?
trainer here can
Woke.
increase our melee skill for $10,000, which I think is a good deal. This young man's fiancée was kidnapped by thugs and brought here to the planet as a female slave. Worry not, my dude. Caban is a protector of womenfolk. Or not.
Woman
На
folk.
выход весь
Head to the exit. Leave your things here. Okay. Please don't hurt me.
Хотя
On the other hand, wait just a second.
чуток.
Oh, come on. Don't do this. Don't.
And then he fucks her. There is no player input. I thought about removing this segment from the video, but then if I did, it would misrepresent what kind of game this is. Caban takes a piss on the floor of the brothel, and then tells the woman she should leave, since this is now a man's restroom. What a strange emotional curve this fucking game has. From jokes to pogroms to jokes again to sexual violence to jokes.
Дель остался артист.
The church of whatever the local religion is called. None of the NPCs here are interactable. That's
should leave, 'cause this
comfy-looking
is now
establishment.
miserable.
Reminds me of the bars in Kenshi. That game fucking owned. Let's start a fight.
Oh, man, that
One
made me
fun
hot.
Fallout-esque feature is that if you steal these guys' weapons, they won't be able to use them in combat. I'm not sure if I like the firearm aesthetic in this game. Guns
man.
don't have much of an identity, at least not visually. I can never
He
remember
need to
what
make
the
another
different types
game.
are called. About to check out Planet Alcatraz vibrant
Oh, he
gay
needs to
scene.
make another
Like
game.
everything Caban does, it ended in violence. Despite the geographical isolation, people in the Asian village seem to be more well off compared to the whites in Severny, or at least they have more stuff in their pockets. Quite a few interesting original assets. Too bad the engine
They don't
makes
have
everything
paved
look like
roads,
shit.
though.
Age of Decadence also has this problem. I've been reading the book some more. It's crazy to think about, but everything we've
Reader.
seen so far is Puchkov's interpretation of what the Quake extended universe
Yeah, they
would
made
look
sure the
like.
blacks got a bunch of
Coincidentally,
flies
you know who
around
else
them.
was a Quake gamer with a massive impact on online culture?
This dude has
H.P.
very
Yanka,
intense
the guy behind
eyes.
Something Awful, who prior to that used to run GameSpy's Planet Quake. Puchkov is really an even more
like that
evil
jacket, though,
version
he
of
got
low
on.
tax, but funnier and better at the actual game probably. He really is a man of culture when it comes to Quake. Like in this section, Goblin, who is both the author and the character in the book, signs praises to Dario Casali, a Doom mapmaker responsible for some levels in Final Doom, who then also worked on Half-Life 1 and 2, Left 4 Dead, Portal 2, but most of this was long
Oh,
after
really?
Puchkov's book was written. We should stop fucking around and reassemble our Space Marine squad. One of our guys is being sold at the slave market. His name is
Of
Gloomy.
course he
The
is.
price is 10,000 coins, but the slaver is willing to exchange our friend for 2 black slaves. One is available right here at the
Damn,
market.
one
The
white
game's UI
slave is
seems to
worth
have a
2 black
dedicated
slaves.
slot for temporary characters. They don't have dialogue and their inventories are inaccessible. A lot of effort went into making this animation. I'm not gonna bore you with details, but
Of
this
course,
quest
what is the
eventually
woman gonna do?
culminates in Kaban fighting a horde of starved townsfolk. Pretty
I
sure
guess they could be
AOT
in the
had a
kitchen
quest like
too,
this.
but
That game comes up a lot. Gloomy is freed and he joins our group as a permanent companion. His scout skill is almost maxed out, but he has surprisingly low perception. Quite a few points invested in pistols
Low
and
perception,
shotguns,
he's
so he's like a
stupid.
close-range gunfighter. The locals would randomly make fun of our naked companion, telling him to bend over.
Да, я принципиально.
okay, and
Yes,
could
I'm
you guys a
principled,
rapist
but
too?
I'm not a moron. One of his idle voice barks.
That because he's
Gloomy
naked
marks
don't
a bunch
mean
of
that
new
he wants to get
locations on our map,
fucked in the
including this
asshole.
one, an Imperial supply capsule, I think. Kiting, the most dumbass of tactics, breaks many RTWP games, and Planet Alcatraz is no exception. Black people have their own district in Severny, which was just now unlocked for us to visit. This location is called the Dance Floor. The trader
No,
here
is
sells
it? I
weapons,
imagine,
pens,
since
one of the
people
very
are
few
dancing
places in
around
the
it.
game where women aren't prostitutes. Instead, they are factory
Really?
workers.
Woke. Double woke when they factory workers.
The
Factory
mountain
workers?
biome has its own music track and creatures.
Some
quite
liberal
a
must have
few
made
different
this game.
creatures. We get word that our fellow troop Kruger is captured by the cannibals who live somewhere in the jungle east of Severny. The huge gorillas look dangerous, but they actually fail to land a single hit. The cope cage protects
Where are
us.
these
The
gorillas
cannibal
coming from?
settlement has its own concept art, which looks great. Eating people
I mean, I
is a
know the
ritualistic
mutant
religious thing.
ostriches
The cannibals
and
are a cult.
ostriches
They won't
and,
allow us access until we disavow whatever
rats.
the religion in Severny was called. Quite a few unique assets in
And
the village.
I guess
Every big
horned
community in
dragons
this
or
game
whatever.
has its own style of architecture, which is
Where the gorillas
just a
coming
good
from?
RPG practice. We are invited to an audience with someone called Father Vendigo, but our captured maid Kruger keeps communicating with gestures that something terrible will happen if we go see him.
Давненько мы не виделись.
It's been a while.
Думал, никогда
I thought I'd never smell anything this awful ever again. You should wash my socks then. It would be better if I drown you in a toilet to make this wasp's nest unlivable. Kruger is a sniper with 9 points in perception and no points in rifles. We'll have to fix this. Holy shit, this is
they're
the
gonna say
single
no
most
points in
expensive firearm I've
intelligence.
seen in this game. An Aryan town manufactured
He is
machine
retarded.
gun that costs 500,000 Alcatraz rubles or whatever the local currency is called. It's too big to steal. The cannibals are fantastically well armed. The NPCs selling slaves to the cannibals are called Highlanders, which is actually
Highlanders?
a reference to
What?
Chechnya. There is this
Duncan
Russian
MacLeod
belief
and Connor
that the
MacLeod here?
minorities, the mounted folk, kidnap and enslave tourists. This country is a mess. Much of the Russian politics is defined by the struggle of two political forces, the Alliance and the Horde, the intelligentsia
Somebody
and the
just like,
Siloviki. A Silovik is someone with a background in security services, FSB, KGB. This game was made by an ex-cop, which is like a lesser Silovik. The cops are goblins to the FSB orcs. Much of what foreigners think they know about the Russian Siloviki culture was actually made up by Tom Clancy to sell shitty political thrillers.
Of course it
Americans tend
was.
to think of the FSB or KGB officials as a foreign version of their own spooks, state-employed intelligence professionals, but
No, it's
in
not.
Russian hats. In reality, the Silovik culture is more like a combination of QAnon and respect-obsessed gangster culture, and they
Oh,
differentiate
that
themselves
sounds
from the
horrible.
intelligentsia by being proudly anti anti-intellectual. There is a world of deranged
Damn.
Silovic shit obscured from you by the language barrier. Is it possible our
Anti-intellectual.
enemies are
They compared
undercover
them to
Jews working
QAnon.
for the British Crown, which secretly rules
They gotta
the
be
world?
fucking
The
idiots.
Americans tried to exterminate us with COVID. NATO bioweapon labs
Yeah, that's
in
why we had
Ukraine
it too.
will take revenge on America by using Soviet technology to cause the eruption of Yellowstone volcano. Stratagem Gamma activated.
Yeah, like that
Stratagem
won't
Gamma
affect you too,
activated. One of the
dumbass.
reasons the Silovic culture is practically unknown to foreigners, despite being ubiquitously present anywhere in Russia, is that the Siloviki, they don't really make art. They are not the intelligentsia. This is one of the many layers of complexity that make planet Alcatraz a unique experience. It's an incredibly rare example of Silovic art.
God, I can't get over how intense
Rescuing
that guy's
Kruger
eyes
unlocks
are.
access to the Asian quarter in Severny.
They say, I don't
Previously
think
was
he's
arbitrarily
blinked
locked. The side
once
quest we did was the
when
only
they
way of
showed
getting
him.
here earlier. The houses are very clean and nice looking. This is the only place in the game that actually looks comfortable to live in. Kaban is very enthusiastic about potentially learning kung fu from the sensei here.
Oh, this is the
little
Asian
building
area?
turned out to be a prison where the Asians kept a jailed
Of course they're
Aryan
doing
whom
kung
we've
fu.
accidentally rescued. Freedom! Thanks, man. The Reich will not forget this. Move it, Uncle Fascist. Get out of here.
Uncle Face.
Well, hello. Hands up, bitch. I be forgetting that this scum sat there for 3 days waiting execution. Kill him, yes?
Oh, is this
The
actually
master
the?
race went to heavenly Reich. The ninja wants us to
translation,
travel around the
because-
neighborhood and kill people for him.
Hands up,
Easiest side
bitch.
quest ever. The bad guy thought it was a stump, and then the sniper blew his brains out. It rhymes in Russian. The third victim is in a public place, and the ninja master recommends us to lure him somewhere
Ninja
more private.
master,
It's
okay,
important to
are they
do this, since
Chinese?
the games actually does
Ninja
have a crime
master?
and
I mean, I know they got
punishment system.
katanas,
The
that
cops
don't make
will come
sense
after
either,
you
but-
if they witness the Space Marines doing illegal shit.
Не совсем вовремя тебя сюда занесло.
This is simultaneously the most fun and the worst combat encounter in Planet Alcatraz. I had to reload 5 times, and all because of shit design. A group of Asians
That
is
mutant
attacked by
rat
a
just
horde
gets,
of bandits. There are a total of 5 waves. Stray bullets keep hitting squad mates who kept aggroing on the
Let me guess,
Asians.
the bandits
but
are
when
black.
the battle actually worked, it was glorious. So many bodies.
Спасибо, великий белый воин.
Thank you, O great white warrior. To commemorate this victory, I make myself a tattoo
The great
on my
white
belly.
ninja.
The reward is a 4-barrel shotgun for Gloomy. The game has a weapon mod.
He's fucking Michael
You can attach a
Dudikoff.
scope or an under-barrel grenade launcher to some guns. This little location is called the Policeman Camp. The policemen, like you probably
Oh,
guessed,
that must
are
be
a
the worst
gang.
camp.
Sort of like
Oh,
the
of
cannibals,
course.
but their favorite weapon is a shotgun instead of a machine gun. In combat, Kaban would
Makes
sometimes
sense.
bark out a racial slur. This is based on the ethnicity
this
of the
is
specific individuals he's
sounding-
fighting. The policemen are multiracial, so all kinds of language is used.
It sounded more and more
Let's
like
rob a
real
bank.
cops.
When a character receives a critical hit, they'll drop their weapon. When fighting multiple enemies, the volume of fire is so large that you would receive many critical hits in a row. Surprise!
the fuck is
Planet
this
Alcatraz
mutants,
has
like,
flying creatures. You need ranged weapons
moths
to
or
hit
whatever?
them.
What
This
the
is the
fuck?
only
Bats?
encounter type Kaban can't solve.
Why
with
are
katana.
there
The
mutants?
Monastery encounter is a
Animals.
reenactment of the boomer shooter Blood 1. Inside
I don't
of a
see any
boomer
mutant
RPG.
humans.
The yellow-robed cultists
They're
are armed
mutated
with submachine
humans.
guns and rifles. The black ones have pitchforks and are almost entirely harmless.
Ну чё, ща будем мочить всех в сортире.
Kaban threatens to kill his enemies in a toilet, which is a reference to something Vlad Banana said during the Second Chechen War, where he promised to kill the nation's enemies everywhere, anywhere, even while they're taking a dump. The main quest eventually leads us to the village
He
of
said, "Fuck
Mombasa.
all that honor
Quite a few
bullshit. We
settlements
gonna
in this game.
kill them while they on the toilet. They completely helpless.
That music, not a whole
Kill
lot
them
to do
in their beds
Mombasa,
with their
unfortunately.
wives
And then we
and
get to Aryan
children
Town, one
in
of
the
the
next
larger
room.
communities on the planet.
Не ходи туда.
Don't go there. The fortress is under siege. The monkeys are enraged. Take me off this thing. I want to die like a white man.
Heil Reich!
The Aryan fortress is
That's how
under
white men
siege
die.
by what appears to be an internationalist coalition of blacks, Asians, and whites. The Aryans have their own technology, like this SMG designed to resemble the actually existing Nazi MP40. The Darth Vader mask is good enough for me to permanently retire Kaban's cope cage.
Oh, they got pre-rendered cutscenes in this, huh?
The board says whites only.
Oh wow.
We have goods. Allow us inside.
Well, I mean,
the
the game
trade,
is
master.
a lot of
Can
racism,
you
so
read, you
makes it-
monkey?
then now I'm gonna blow it up.
Well, this is different. The Aryans speak Russian with a German accent and dress in Wehrmacht-style uniforms. It's like something out of a Hearts of Iron mod. The last missing member of our Space Marine squad is kept
Oh, damn,
somewhere
better
in
give
the
him a
fortress.
blowjob?
But Demon, that's the troop's name, has an escape plan.
Oh no,
There is supposed to be a
and a
fifth
neck
character,
break.
but we won't meet him in this game. That's saved for the sequel. The sabotage
Wow,
and
they
reconnaissance
did make a
squad
sequel,
complete
okay.
is reassembled. 4 ugliest motherfuckers on planet Alcatraz.
Подходит ко мне иной раз.
Sometimes a person would approach
I love
me,
that they had
would
their
look at my
faces
and then
moving
they
at
would
the
no
part. Like
longer
they get
approach
animations
me.
for
The
the.
Aryan town is the second
It's
or
so silly
third
they looking
biggest
at each other.
settlement on the planet. Depends on if you count Promzona as a settlement or not. The comfy European-y looking fortress is surrounded by slums where the non-Aryans live.
После менингита
The
Meningitis
non-Aryans.
either kills you or makes
The
you
blacks.
stupid. My brother died, but I survived. Barbarossa is a bar and a gun store. They sell very good assault rifles. I think I'll buy one. We need to equip our boy Demon. Frau Gerda here is an extraordinary case
The
of a
fuck?
woman in this game that is not a sex worker.
Oh, I
In
thought
the
that was
wilderness
supposed to be a
not far
gay
from the
man
city,
or
A
something.
Nazi is having a zombie problem.
It's just another woke woman.
It's a catastrophe.
Well, I guess it
a
was
failed
gay, be woke
scientific
too.
experiment. The secret weapon of the Reich went out of control. I don't get it. Are the dead mutants a secret weapon? Yes, oh my god. Basically, our Negro subject suddenly went mad. Looks like we made a mistake dosing the special Aryan medicine. Or perhaps we held them in the gas chamber for too long. Run as fast
We
as you
had
can.
them in the gas chamber too long, so they went
Zombies can
mad.
soak a lot of damage, but are easily dispatched with headshots. Private Kaban himself. Look at that. Our
They had
people
that
are
thing where cops call it
Margarita
that
here is
containment
a member of a
delirium or some
woman-only
dumb
squad.
shit.
They're sort of like us, but gender swapped. The Nazis captured some of their number and are using them for their sick experiments. Characters can crouch and lie down. I didn't mention this before because it's a lot less useful than it sounds. The game's difficulty sharply
It's
spikes
not
after
important.
rescuing Demon. This is uncommon in boomer RPGs. Almost all of them have a reverse difficulty curve. Anyway, this is a sequel hook.
Например, продолжение из высоких маркетинговых соображений.
Out of marketing concerns, I thought the sequel
I was
should
gonna
be
say
about
he have a
women.
love
So
interest,
we
but then I was
created
like, oh yeah,
little
he
side
raped a
quest
woman
about the
earlier.
reconnaissance team Margaritka, woman sent to a planet where there
they
are no
peed on
women,
her
so they
floor
could conduct their
and told her to
sabotage
get out
work
'cause it's a
while
man
remaining
toilet now.
undetected. This is supposed to be a prologue for a sequel about women with tons of sexism and misandry. Dmitry said we shouldn't do this plotline. Many people asked what purpose does this serve? Why does this little side quest seem so out of place in the atmosphere, in
wanted
the
about
setting of
woman.
the game? The answer
sequel
to
to
this
be about
question
women.
is, I told
Women.
the designer to make this quest line and he couldn't tell me no. These are my favorite characters, nobody else likes them. Power armor is a fun RPG trope, and we are about to see Puchkov's take on
I just had him
The
do it because
policemen
I
are
can make him
fighting
do
the
it.
Asians who cleverly defend their position with a minefield of poisonous mushrooms. This is exactly what I expected
Oh,
it to
Fallout?
look like. The prisoner-made suit makes one near invulnerable to bullets, but slows your movement speed quite a bit. There is a perk we can take to counteract this, but it seems like something one should plan in advance. The power armor is named after Puchkov's movie translation brand. Delivered from the word cunt, it means a catastrophic state of affairs.
He
What
like
the fuck?
Bela
Robots.
Lugosi
The
from
armed
Dracula.
men are the
This is-
cannibals, which for some reason are the
Going
most
crazy
high-tech
ass
faction in
eyes.
this game. They must be doing something right. What's this?
Okay, they got
secret?
robots
The
and shit?
encounter
Okay.
design is getting more complex. The cannibals counterattack
They just
us
like
with
just
power
throw
armor
in
troops
anything
and
that I think is
grenadiers
cool.
hiding behind them. This is almost
Robots,
fun to play.
armored
Almost. Don't get me wrong.
soldiers,
Even if we ignore Puchkov's
racism.
awful politics, this is a frustrating game few will enjoy.
Kalima.
Kalima
The
Shakti
Mombasa
Day.
locals are trying to resurrect a dead
Hare
Aryan
Chigaro.
via a contraption made of ostrich dicks or whatever. I have no idea how we got here.
Hey, was
I
that
think I
woman in a
blacked out.
thong?
Oh my god, it's working. Let's dance to celebrate. Get the snow girl, they yell. Reminder that our team's mission on the prison planet is to discover the location of a starship the inmates are supposedly building in secret. This is an Asian-operated construction site.
That's like just a house.
You're out of your mind, fucking cosmonauts, says Gloomy. We give the coordinates to the commanding officer Blackie back in Severny. He calls the space station Cerberus.
Cerberus.
But
Oh.
there is a problem. It wasn't a spaceship. It was a spaceship-shaped house the Asian community was building for one of their leaders to commemorate the Chinese
So it wasn't even a
achievements in
goddamn
space
spaceship.
exploration. Blackie says we're too fucking stupid to work for him, so we should talk to the
He
Imperial
has a
agent
point.
in Aryan Town instead. The
Yeah,
Aryans are
Blackie.
probably the ones
Surprised they
building
ain't
the
got another
spaceship,
character
says
called
the agent.
Darky.
They have the technology
Another
and they're
one called
motivated.
Whitey.
We should infiltrate their ranks. It's easy to do since the Aryans
Oh,
are
Blackie's
relatively
brother is
small in
Whitey.
number and extremely paranoid about the Great Replacement. They dress up Kaban in a Nazi uniform and
You
give
can't
him
be
an
racist
MP40.
without talking about the Great Replacement.
For multiple attempts to get into our city without proper documents. For self-evident racial inferiority.
Oh, they got one from
Private
every
Kaban,
from
I
every
order you
race.
to commence execution. I don't think there is a way out of this without clicking the prisoners. This is the main quest, by the way.
Herr Marshal.
Her Marshal, the enemies of the city are exterminated without mercy. We get insight into the social conflicts of the greater
we killed the
planet
black ones
Alcatraz
twice.
universe. The Aryans, according to the Marshal, are dissidents, political prisoners in the Empire. This is also where we hit a game-breaking bug. Black screen that never goes away. I had to execute these poor guys a dozen or so times while I tried different solutions. People were telling me there is no
How do
fix.
they
I even
allow
thought
a
about
game
tweeting at the developer. Hey, the game
on
stopped
Steam
working after
that
that scene
breaks.
where we join the Nazi party and execute people for racial inferiority. What should I do? Deleting the texture cache worked, allowing me to progress. Anyway, Kaban didn't
wow.
remain in Gestapo for long. We quickly learned that yes, the
I'd be
Aryans are
pissed.
building a starship, specifically to evacuate their leader,
I
the
bought a
supposed
game with a-
military genius
with a
of
bug
planet,
that
so
just
he could
crashes,
command their
basically.
forces against the Empire. Hopefully, we can win back Blackie's respect.
Which I have played
the
games
Cerberus
like that.
station main weapon overheated after firing on the Chinese residents. We'll have to take care of things ourselves. To assist us in our mission, the Imperials will drop a package somewhere in the desert. The only ethical characters in planet Alcatraz.
So they fuck just like
The Imperial
us.
combat armor offers the best defense in the game, and it doesn't restrict movement. We also get new guns. There are different kinds. The Imperial weapons skill was 100% useless until now. The reason
Damn.
they have a railgun in this game is because
Shoot
it's an
with
iconic
laser
Quake
guns
2
now.
weapon, although it looks very different here for legal reasons. In the book, the instructor explains to Kaban how a railgun works and then spells
Gotta
out
look
a
different
Quake
so
2
we don't
console
get
command
sued.
that disables the annoying particle effects. This is all written in universe. And then there is this thing. A bomb, Gloomy, is something they drop from the sky, said Goblin
A
with
bomb.
a condescending tone.
Like a
I
trash
get
can.
it. So this is like an explosive mine. It is. Is it potent? I'd say it's extra potent. Not just some antimatter filled garbage. It's a Satan class extermination device, more popularly known as Mommy. The starship is being constructed in the caverns below the cannibal village. Despite
Mommy,
our
yeah, I'm
technological
surprised they ain't just
advantage,
name
they
it
still pose
instead
a
of like
threat. Some
Americans.
of the
They had the big
cannibals are
boy, the
armed
one
with
the bombs they
bazookas,
dropped
a
on
weapon we haven't even
Japan. They
seen
named it
before.
Big
These can
Man or
one-shot
some
even
shit.
fully armored space marines.
But I see what
Believe
we
it or
did
not,
there.
It's actually possible to side with the cannibals, at least according to this walkthrough. Admittedly, some of these plot elements sound like an elaborate joke, but then again, it's
Space.
planet fucking Alcatraz.
Checking.
The caverns are mostly populated by the Aryans, who do all the actual construction. The Aryan Cannibal Pact, a CAP. They have plenty of power armor. Just because we got endgame equipment doesn't mean the combat suddenly becomes fun or a cakewalk. Look how easy it is to get stun-locked. The actual starship
thought the
is
game was
hidden
gonna
deeper
become fun?
underground, and it looks like
Silly
something out
bitch.
of Star
Of
Trek.
course not.
The new Star Trek, even. It's cool that the Imperial technology looks distinct from the prisoner-made crap we've been using previously, but it feels like a Nazi starship should look more, I don't know, Nazi-like.
Них стреляет! Них
Oh,
стреляет!
just about to say
Fire,
that Nazi
fire.
look.
I'm
There's
the
no
pilot of this ship.
swastikas.
I'm the only one who can fly it. You won't leave this planet without me.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Yep. I ain't think
Destruction
about
of the
this
starship doesn't
but
immediately end the game. You
I
can
was
still
hoping
fuck
that he
around
would.
and finish whatever side quests. But
I'm
this
the
is
only
a
one that
very
get you
long
out of here.
adventure. 30, 40 hours
Don't worry
or
about
so.
it.
By this point, you probably had enough. The shuttle is sent to extract us. This is the closest thing the game has to an end boss.
Like you
Access
said,
to
by
the
this
shuttle
point, you
is
probably
blocked by
are
a
done playing
mechanized
this.
Aryan force, led by the same genius general.
No,
they were
not trying to
trying
actually
get off
finish it. You
planet.
just done.
My God, we will oppress you a little. One of the few battles in the game where I actually had to micromanage my characters. The Space Marines celebrate with alcohol.
Of course they do.
Commander, we should leave, said Tarzan, grimacing from pain. No generator means no power source for the Teutonic stabilizer. If we fail to find the elevator, we won't make it. We'll be buried beneath the rubble. Kaban looked at Goblin. Should we go? Goblin raised his index finger and said, "Not to our pants." And then they ran.
Shh.
The
And then
reward
they
for
ran.
completing the game is the Space
The
Marine
end.
Ясный кубрик звездолета. Мы десант, а не пехота. Под ногами 100 парсеков до земли. Кто курил, а кто кемарил. Крюгер штык любимый правил. В общем, отдыхай.
This remind me
This
of
is a mix
something.
of
I don't know if
two
it was
obscure
from
song genres. One is
a James
Blatnaya
Bond
Pesnya,
movie.
which depicts a
was like some
romanticized
Russian-
version of Soviet criminal
No, it was,
subculture. The other one is Ruski Chanson, which is the same, except it's usually about military service or a life of a low middle class Khrushchevka dweller.
it was a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger played a Russian cop that then came over to New York or Chicago or something
Those of you who had the
to
misfortune
find a
of
Russian
playing the
criminal.
English
I
version,
forget what
I'm
it was
interested
called. It
to
said
know what
Red
exactly
something.
was cut. Needless to say, I don't recommend anyone pay money for this game. But you can give money to me via the crowdfunding platform Patreon. So Planet Alcatraz,
give it to me,
what a
though.
strange experience this is. Explaining this game to an Anglophone audience is like trying to explain Family Guy jokes to a 90-year-old Siege of Leningrad survivor. In the Steam reviews, the Russians are having a mini culture war over this game. Most of the dialogue is written in the criminal slang, which Russians recognize as something low status, something below them. But this is false. Planet Alcatraz is not even a bad game.
This is
Goblin
false.
Puchkov is a genuine artist.
Everyone is
It's
below.
Just his medium is racism, rape, and war crime denial. The brush, the canvas. The views portrayed in the game are fairly mainstream, especially among older folk. In 2019, Goblin was given an honor of addressing Vlad Putin during an annual press conference. They very carefully filter people for these. So when I said
wow.
he would become the president one day, I was only half joking. If you think the mainstream role
I actually
pushed Puchkov
talked to
moderate
Putin.
himself, it's actually the opposite. Jesus Christ, Dmitry, you senile fuck. Your wife is Jewish. Thought about leaving the Quake book here for someone to find, but a
Okay.
book on boomer shooter deathmatch advice might be useful for future videos. Gonna do something with good vibes.
What is that? Like some community like bookshelf that anybody can just go get a book from? Okay, it said the frame rate is at 30 and it didn't drop. At least I didn't see it drop. Because the other day I was trying to record something and the audio was just, I don't know, it just dropped like crazy, and then the frame rate was dropping. I think my voice is I think my voice might be slightly behind or whatever. Anyway, that was good. I don't really have anything to say. Oh, he needs he already made a sequel. He needs to make another one. Just give him some money. You know what? Him and David Cage, they need to get together and make a game. That would be the most infamous game ever made. I don't care if you don't want it. You're going to play. Everyone's going to play it. It's going to be game of the year. It's like people now talking about Black Myth Wukong. Like it's game of the year. Year's not over. It's like, it came out. It's game of the year. And if it don't win, that means that it is rigged. I hope you all enjoyed my reaction. One of you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe when you're here. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time.